The CEO watched in shock as one of his workers secretly pulled food from the trash and ate it. But he had no idea that this one moment would change his entire company forever. The massive warehouse buzzed with activity. Machines hummed, conveyor belts rolled, and workers moved in a choreographed rush. No one paid any attention to the tall man in a simple jacket and worn-out jeans walking among them. That was exactly what Ethan Carter wanted. As the CEO of Carter Logistics, a billion-dollar supply chain empire, he had spent years building his company from the ground up. But recently, disturbing rumors had reached him. Employees struggling, wages too low, overtime being cut. He had to see it for himself. Blending in among the workers, he walked through the aisles, observing everything. Then something unusual caught his eye. Near the far end of the warehouse, behind towering shelves, a worker crouched near a trash bin. At first, Ethan thought the man was throwing something away, but when he looked closer, his stomach twisted. The worker wasn't dumping trash. He was taking food out, half-eaten, stale food, and carefully wiping it off before taking a bite. Ethan froze. The man's hands trembled as he ate, his posture screaming desperation. He chewed slowly, glancing around as if afraid someone would see him. Ethan felt an unfamiliar tightness in his chest. This wasn't just a rumor. This was real, and it was happening inside his company. He wasn't leaving until he got to the bottom of this. Ethan watched as the worker finished his meal in secret. Every bite he took made Ethan's stomach twist harder. He walked forward, making sure his steps were loud enough to be heard. The man stiffened and turned, his face draining of color when he saw Ethan standing there. For a split second, he looked like a child caught stealing. "Hey," Ethan said casually. "You all right?" The worker hesitated. Yeah, just taking a break." Ethan's eyes flicked to the trash bin. "That's your lunch?" The man's face burned with shame. He opened his mouth to deny it, but no words came out. He swallowed hard and looked down. "I didn't steal nothing," he muttered. I just needed something." Ethan studied him. "What's your name?" "Carlos," he said quietly. "How long have you worked here?" 2 years. "And you can't afford lunch?" Carlos let out a bitter laugh. "Lunch? I can barely afford rent. They cut our hours, took away overtime. My kid's sick. My wife lost her job. I'm just trying to get by." Ethan's jaw clenched. This was his company, his people, and they were digging through trash to survive. "Does management know about this?" Ethan asked. Carlos scoffed. "Management? They don't care. They're too busy counting profits." Ethan exhaled slowly. Something had to change, and it was going to start right now. The next morning, the entire warehouse was shaken. Ethan arrived, but this time not undercover. He walked in wearing his signature tailored suit, flanked by his executive team. Workers whispered. Managers stiffened. Tension hung in the air like a storm about to break. Ethan stepped onto a raised platform, grabbed the microphone and scanned the room. "Morning, everyone," he began. "Some of you may not recognize me, but I'm Ethan Carter. And this company, it's nothing without you." Silence fell. "Yesterday I spent the day working alongside you," he continued. "And what I saw, what I learned, was unacceptable." His gaze landed on Carlos. The man stood frozen, eyes wide. "No one in my company should be struggling to feed their families," Ethan said firmly. "So, effective immediately, hourly wages are increasing. Overtime is back. And lunch? From now on, it's on us. Every single day." Gasps echoed through the warehouse. Workers looked at each other in shock. But Ethan wasn't done. He turned his gaze to the managers standing at the back, looking pale. "And as for upper management, there are going to be changes, big ones. Because if I find out anyone here has been mistreated, they won't be working here much longer." For a long moment, the room stayed frozen. Then, applause erupted. It started small, then grew into a thunderous roar. Carlos. Tears filled his eyes. For the first time in years, he felt something he had almost forgotten. Hope. The warehouse buzzed with energy. For the first time in years, workers felt seen. Carlos wiped his eyes, still overwhelmed. Ethan stepped down from the platform and walked straight toward him. "You didn't have to do that," Carlos said, his voice thick with emotion. Ethan smiled. "Yeah, I did." Carlos hesitated, then held out his hand. Ethan shook it firmly. "You just changed a lot of lives," Carlos said, "including mine." Ethan nodded. "And we're just getting started." As he turned to leave, he caught a glimpse of the trash bin in the corner. Empty. And for the first time since stepping into this warehouse, he knew things would never be the same again. Would you have done the same if you were in Ethan's shoes? Let's talk in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring stories like this.